There's something really interesting about watching a famous person disappear from the world for a while, especially when that person is someone as well known as Johnny Depp. We're used to celebrities always being in front of the camera, always making noise, always showing us where they are and what they're doing. But then there's Johnny, someone who, instead of trying to stay in the spotlight, quietly walked away from it. No big dramatic exit, no huge announcement, just silence. A silence so deep that it made people curious, confused, and honestly a little worried. And yet within that silence, something important was happening. Something personal, something powerful, something very human. You might have noticed it, too. One day the world was talking about him nonstop. Then suddenly it felt like he wasn't around at all. No interviews, no red carpets, no new movie promotions, no social media storms. Just a man who walked away from the noise and disappeared into a quieter life. And the interesting thing is that this silence wasn't weakness. It wasn't defeat. It was change. A slow, silent rebuilding of a life that had been shaken in very public ways. People always wonder what happens to someone during these quiet times of their life. Does the silence mean they're broken? Does it mean they're lost? Or does it mean they're choosing a new path? In Johnny's case, the silence became his protection. It became a space where he could breathe again, away from all the pressure and opinions and chaos that had surrounded him for months and even years. And that quiet space became the starting point of his mysterious return to fame. A return that wasn't loud or flashy, but calm, soft, and incredibly powerful. When you look back, you can almost feel the change. The speed of his life slowed down. The world stopped seeing new photos of him every day. The headlines, cool, but behind the scenes he was reconnecting with the things that had always brought him peace. Painting, music, traveling to quiet places where people didn't bother him, staying with friends who understood him rather than being surrounded by strangers in hotel lobbies and crowded celebrity spaces. He stopped trying to prove anything. He stopped responding to noise. He just lived quietly, gently, truly himself. And that's when something amazing happened. Slowly, almost like a whisper, he began to show up again. Not with a giant blockbuster movie, not with a huge Hollywood press conference, but with small, meaningful moments. A concert here, an art event there, a photo with fans that wasn't staged or forced, a simple smile that said more than any interview ever could. People saw him and said he looks different, not in the usual celebrity way, but in a deeper, calmer way, like someone who finally found his own rhythm again. It's strange how powerful quiet can be. In a world that's always shouting, silence becomes interesting. The less Johnny showed up, the more people wanted to know what he was doing. The more peaceful he seemed, the more people wondered how he got there. Fans, critics, and even people who weren't following his story closely started noticing his gentle return. And that curiosity created a kind of mystery around him. Not a fake mystery, but a very real one. People began asking, is he coming back? What is he working on? Who is he trusting now? Why does he look so peaceful? And slowly answers started to show up. Not because he announced anything, but because his actions spoke for him. His presence felt different, softer, lighter, more on purpose. And that's the most surprising part of all. The idea that his mysterious return wasn't an accident or random coincidence, but part of a deeper, personal journey that started in silence, not in the spotlight. What many people don't know is that during this quiet phase, Johnny wasn't alone. Yes, he stepped back from the public eye, but he remained surrounded by a small group of people who cared about him deeply. Friends, artists, musicians, producers, people who didn't want anything from him, except for him to be okay. This circle became his safe space, a circle that encouraged him to take his time, to heal, to create only when he felt ready, to ignore the world's expectations, and instead focus on reconnecting with himself. This inner circle didn't push him back into the spotlight. They protected him from it. And in doing so, they helped him return in a way that felt real. He didn't rush projects. He didn't jump into opportunities just to prove something. He chose slowly, carefully. He chose people he trusted, stories that mattered to him, projects that matched with who he is now, not who the world wanted him to be. The result, a return that felt soft but strong. A comeback that wasn't about shouting, "I'm back." It was about showing up, quietly, confidently, naturally. It was about letting people see him in the most real way possible, not through public relations, not through flashy appearances, but through simple, calm, real moments. But of course, any quiet return always comes with noise. From the outside, rumors flew everywhere. Was he quitting acting? Was he only going to make music now? Was he done with Hollywood forever? The truth is much simpler. He didn't quit anything. He didn't disappear again. He just made a choice. The choice to return on his own terms, to work in a way that protected his peace, to say yes to the right things and no to the wrong ones, to build a comeback that wasn't based on pressure but on balance. And that choice led to something interesting in Hollywood, a kind of rareness. When someone doesn't appear everywhere, when they don't post constantly, when they don't try to grab attention every day, people begin to value them more. They become rare, mysterious, interesting, and that mystery becomes part of their power. It's not a strategy that most celebrities try because it requires patience and self-control. But for Johnny, it became the perfect fit. Whether he planned it or not, the quiet made his presence stronger. Insiders even say that this quiet phase helped him build something new, a new path, a new set of opportunities, a new energy around his work. People close to him mentioned upcoming music collaborations, private creative projects, and film roles being discussed quietly without the usual Hollywood hype. Things are moving, things are happening, but they're happening in a calm and thoughtful way, not in a rushed or stressful one. And honestly, that's what makes his return feel so different. There's also something beautiful about the way he interacts with fans now. Before, his life often felt crazy with cameras everywhere and people demanding something from him at every moment. But these days, the interactions feel softer, warmer, more meaningful. Fans who meet him say he seems calmer than ever, kinder, more present, like someone who finally has enough space around him to breathe. And maybe that's the real secret behind his mysterious return, the space he created around himself. When someone rises back slowly and quietly, the world pays more attention. There's something almost poetic about a comeback that doesn't make noise, that doesn't demand the spotlight, but simply exists. Softly, steadily, confidently, loud. Comebacks can create excitement for a moment, but they often fade as quickly as they appear. They burst into the public eye with fireworks, but once the spark dies, people move on. Quiet comebacks, though, those linger. They stay in your mind. They make you curious. They make you wonder what changed, what healed, and what his return is exactly that kind of return. A slow rising, a gentle unfolding. Not a superstar storming back into fame with a megaphone, but a human being stepping into a new chapter with calm footsteps. It feels honest. It feels real. And maybe that's why people are connecting with it so deeply. It's not flashy. It's not calculated. And it's not wrapped in a perfect Hollywood package. It's simply a man choosing to live differently and letting the world see only what he feels comfortable sharing. Think about everything he's been through, the public battles that played out in front of millions, the constant pressure of being judged, criticized, argued about, and misunderstood, the overwhelming noise of opinions that never seem to stop. That kind of weight doesn't just test a person. It changes them. It pushes them to look inward, to question things, to find out what really matters, and to let go of what doesn't. And that kind of deep personal change doesn't lead to a dramatic, explosive comeback. It leads to a quiet one, a thoughtful one, a comeback that is less about proving something and more about becoming something. His return needed to happen this way because anything louder would have felt wrong. Anything rushed would have felt forced. After going through so much for so long, a peaceful reentry into the world made more sense. It allowed him to breathe. It allowed him to take control of his own story again, and it allowed him to reconnect with himself without the pressure of constantly performing for the world. That's why this comeback feels more powerful than any he's had before. It's not built on hype. It's not built on a huge studio pushing him into the spotlight. It's built on healing. It's built on clarity. It's built on choosing peace over chaos and being real over image. You can feel that difference in the way he speaks, the way he appears at events, the way he interacts with fans, and even the way he carries himself. There's a softness in him now, a quiet confidence, a new kind of strength, one that doesn't need a shout to be heard. People often think power is loud, but real power is sometimes the quietest thing in the room. And in Johnny's case, the quiet is exactly what makes his presence so strong today. His journey reminds us that rising again doesn't always require noise. Sometimes rising quietly is the most powerful comeback of all, because this time he's not returning for the world. He's returning for himself. He's choosing projects that inspire him, not just ones that impress people. He's surrounding himself with people who care about him, not people who want something from him. He's building something steady, something meaningful, something real. The world might call it a mysterious return, but maybe it's not a mystery at all. Maybe it's simply the natural result of someone choosing peace over chaos, choosing being real over performance, choosing healing over pressure, choosing life over noise. And as fans, what we're watching right now is not just a comeback. It's a quiet rebirth, a gentle rise, a softer, wiser version of a man who has lived through storms and come out with a calmer heart. And honestly, that's more inspiring than any dramatic return ever could be. People close to him say this is only the beginning, that more is coming. More music, more creative collaborations, more thoughtful film roles. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, just a slow unfolding of a new chapter. A chapter shaped by everything he's learned, everything he survived, and everything he's becoming. So where does this leave us now? Watching, supporting, and appreciating the journey as it unfolds. Not with loud applause, but with calm curiosity. Not with pressure, but with understanding. Because at the end of the day, the story of Johnny Depp's mysterious return isn't really about Hollywood. It's about a person finding his way back to himself. And that is the kind of story that deserves to be told. Gently, slowly, and with a warm heart.